Hello there, Internet. How are you doing today? Welcome to another episode of Renegades React. Today we're going to be looking at some Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, the final trailer. Final trailer before the release. And let's just say this. Weather's not being very cooperative with us right now, so what we're going to do is we're going to watch this, discuss it a bit. We may not discuss it as long as we have in certain videos in the past.
We might be snowed in a little bit.
I hope not, but if that's the case, we'll get to that when we get to that. But for right now, let's get into it. This is the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice final trailer. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Nice.
Master Wayne.
All right.
Thermal imaging is showing me 24 hostiles on the
Is
third
Alfred
floor.
flying that?
Why don't I drop you off on the second?
Like a drone.
He's
Yeah.
totally flying it. Alfred is the man.
That's amazing. Ha! Hi, fellas.
Oh, rock bottom.
Yes.
Ooh. Some sort of sidewalk slam.
Brutality, man. Jeez.
Oh, nice.
That's
you
how
see
you
the
do. Oh,
dude.
dang.
Even you
Did you
got
see the knife scrape across the cow and the sparks? That was awesome.
Yeah.
Woo.
I didn't realize how big he was.
He's 6'3", dude.
Yeah.
I mean, but he was jacked. I mean, those guys looked like children.
If we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
The greatest gladiator match in the history of the world.
Oh.
God versus man.
Oh.
Ooh.
Day
Man.
versus night.
You're psychotic.
No, he's a hype man.
Three-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
The power armor. Man.
Oh, nice.
I've known a few women like you.
Oh, I don't think you've ever known a woman like me.
Hey.
Hey, Gal Gadot.
You know the oldest lie in America? Is that power can be innocent.
Oh.
Hey.
Hey.
Man.
All right. We got a real match.
Man.
We got a real match.
Like the thing that Zack Snyder does really well, because I mean you see other directors try it, like for example Michael Bay, where he does in your face and it's so heavy handed and it's just cartoonish, but Zack Snyder does visceral so well.
He does. His portrayals of the visceral natures in
And that
Watchmen
honestly
was awesome.
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
like I don't get me wrong, I love the Nolan trilogy because Nolan is a deep thinker and there's a lot of philosophy in his movies and I love philosophy.
Yes.
But Batman is such a visceral character.
He's visceral because he has to be, because
Yeah.
that's what he has to portray. But he is philosophical.
Well, yeah,
in his,
I mean,
his own
absolutely.
time.
If,
Well, I
if
like-
you are going to inflict terror on a superstitious and cowardly lot,
Right, yeah,
such as
it's-
the villains of Gotham, you got to be hardcore.
Yeah,
You
he's
have to
sort of adopted fear as his avatar. You know?
Yeah.
So
It's just that one shot with Batman blocking the punch.
and
Yeah.
Superman just going,
yeah,
it's
that's-
like,
like I gotta say, like for a long time, I was that guy that was like, Ben Affleck is Batman. You've got to be kidding me! But this looks tremendous.
good.
I mean,
well, you knew he was going to give it his all because he is a comic book fan,
Yeah.
and he is actually a good actor when he when he puts effort forward.
yeah.
It's
Now
just-
he's sort of gotten it figured out now.
yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
Like
and-
we're not going to see another Daredevil.
no, we're not.
no.
Thank the Lord, because
Well, we are. The new season comes out on Netflix.
yeah, we're
but-
not going to see another Daredevil
right.
movie.
Sure, sure.
Well,
sure.
Mark.
We're not going to see that
See,
rehashed.
you see, the whole thing with that though is that was in the early days of the comic book movies.
Well,
Yeah.
when they
people-
didn't
yeah.
have
Well,
the style figured out yet.
People didn't know how to handle that stuff back then.
No, they didn't.
And people
now
have
they're
sort of
and
figured
now
it
they
out.
do. Now they do because they've actually put it in the hands of people who know what to do.
Yeah.
It's just like Joss Whedon, the Russo brothers. I mean, Kenneth Branagh. You know, he handled the first Thor movie beautifully because it was a Shakespearean style story. And you see, you put you put it in the hand. I mean, honestly, Peter Gunn. Did anybody ever expect Peter Gunn to actually do good with Guardians of the Galaxy? Hell no. But look what happened.
It was amazing.
Exactly.
I was so pumped for that movie. Just like I watched that trailer over and over and over, and it delivered, and it was tremendous.
And that's the thing. You look at that trailer, and it's like, all right, I'm interested to see this movie.
And that is the most ridiculous movie they've ever made. It has a talking raccoon in it with a bazooka. Like, come on.
And yet, that movie feels just as grounded as the first Iron Man.
Absolutely.
And also, it also has a talking tree in it that has a four word vocabulary.
Yeah.
You know, I am or we are Groot.
Yeah.
Actually, I am, we are. 5 letter.
Oh,
five,
yeah.
Five word vocabulary.
What do you know?
So there you go. And
then
Subject
this,
verb agreement.
you see, this right here, I have faith in this now because Chris Terrio, who is one of the best comic book writers, or who's one of the best writers in Hollywood right now. You know, he did Argo, which was awesome.
Oh yeah.
And he's also a big comic book fan. I mean, he's gonna do great. He did great. I think he's gonna do great work with the script on this, and also the fact that Snyder at the helm can either go one or two ways. It can either go tremendous, like it did with 300, and like it did. People bag on Watchmen, but I liked it. I liked the fact that they changed the ending and everything, but
honestly,
for the most
it
part,
was a better ending.
Okay, yeah, and some people may argue with you that it wasn't, but I liked the ending. I liked how it ended.
I think it ended better than the way Alan Moore ended it, because that was just
careful.
That was weird.
Careful, man.
Look, Alan Moore's gonna be mad at everybody.
Well, yeah,
and
he's
honestly, it's like, all right, changing the ending. It's like, the ending to Watchmen the comic. All right, that's fine. The ending to Watchmen the movie. Personally, I preferred that ending because it was more
Personal
interesting.
preference.
Instead of, spoilers, instead of giant psychic squid thing, he basically turned the world against Dr. Manhattan.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's more interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I think it is. I think it is
Anyway.
too. It's just comic book diehards. They won't let that argument die.
Yeah, and
that's all well and
Alan
good.
Moore also will not let that argument die.
Well,
he hates that movie
so
much.
Well, he hates every movie that's made of his because
Yes,
he doesn't
that
understand
also
artist
is
interpretation
completely
in the
true.
film. He doesn't understand artist interpretation in the film. Like he has legitimate claims. Like for instance, what was it? Was it From Hell that was his as well? I'm not sure, but there was one that he did that I saw there that was a comic book or a graphic novel of his that was done, and when I saw it on film, I was like, oh, they could have done so much more with it. If they would have stuck to Moore's original material and how he told the story, but instead it was the way they executed it. Was throwing Hollywood tricks at it and everything.
Yeah, and
which I don't like that.
Right.
I think what they're doing now with comic book movies and graphic novel interpretations is they're finding the balance between cinematic and comic book storytelling.
Yeah.
And they're meshing it together in a way that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch. It's almost sinful to an extent.
Well, it was an awkward relationship at first because, like you said, to figure that out takes some time. I mean,
it does.
And
and first one through the gate's always gonna get shit on.
Oh yeah, I mean, that first prototype, it might be good, but it can always be better.
As always.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's constant improvement. That's just human nature. We always find ways to improve.
I think maybe one of the things that they've finally figured out is how to frame the movie so that you could essentially take stills from this movie and just turn it back into the comic.
Right.
You can.
Yeah. And that took a long time to figure out.
Yeah, and it's something they figured out. You can't do it with shaky cam.
No.
You can't do it with an overabundance of CGI. You have to have something real there.
Yeah, I mean, CGI is good.
Yes,
CGI is a useful thing. Overuse of CGI, like overuse of anything, is a terrible thing.
Yes.
That balance is very hard to figure out.
Yes, it is.
George Lucas, I don't think, ever figured it out.
No.
We're doing it again. We're
ranting.
Yeah,
It always goes back to
Sorry.
but no, I am worried about the narrative part though. This looks really good. The thing is,
I am also worried about the narrative.
I really would have liked a standalone Batman movie before this. I mean, I know Batman needs no exposition. I mean, he's the Batman.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of Batman exposition recently.
But we are going to have Wonder Woman, presumably Aquaman, and the Flash,
and
I believe.
Cyborg.
And Cyborg.
Cyborg is also in this.
So I mean. And everybody knows these characters now. I mean, comics are huge, but
it still
it's a lot to put into one movie.
Yeah,
you know?
It feels like a lot of this stuff is just being thrown at you.
Yeah, WB, Warner Brothers. What I think they're rushing into it in a lot of ways, but at the same time, if they pull it off, if there's a way to pull it off, it's just it takes.
This is a
being
gamble.
Very careful.
This technique is a gamble.
It is.
They can win out on this, but they can also blow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely gonna make the money they need to pursue other endeavors. I mean, the next Batman movie I think is gonna be tremendous.
It's directed by Ben Affleck
because
of course,
it's moving forward.
And
obviously.
they got what's his name, Jeff Johns, one of the best comic book
and then I
writers
think
ever.
Suicide Squad is gonna stand alone, but it's gonna be. I mean, I think it'll do.
The more I think about Suicide Squad,
I think it'll do really
the
well.
less hype I am about Suicide Squad.
Well, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I mean, David Ayer, who's a phenomenal writer and director, and a comic book fan, I think he'll do the movie justice. But at the same time, it's a huge risk.
Well,
you're throwing so many people.
The more I see of these trailers,
the
less confident I am about this movie.
Well, it's way darker than anyone's been willing to go thus far with comic book stuff.
This is true.
I don't know. Just something about. Well, okay, no, I can actually put my finger on it. And, I feel like I'm harping on the same point every time, but Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Somebody brought this up to me. You remember the joke that she made about the voices?
Yeah.
That's not okay. That is marginalizing mental illness for comedy. And as somebody diagnosed with a mental illness, I have pretty serious depression, folks. If you may not know that, all right. That's not okay. That is super heavy-handed and just, you may say, oh, social justice, but that's not okay. Playing her like a paranoid schizophrenic, that's one thing. Playing that for laughs, which is what it felt like they were doing,
right?
Not okay. It's just that has me so worried about the writing that.
I mean, to be fair,
I was cautiously optimistic. I'm not anymore. I'm not particularly optimistic about Suicide Squad. I may not even see it.
I mean, to be fair, I
don't
mean,
know.
Harley Quinn is a villain. I mean, she doesn't really care about other people's feelings. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe it was
also
heavy-handed by the writers.
Also a psychiatrist.
Right.
That's very important. And you would think, even
she was kind of messed up and before she was turned into the Harley Quinn character. I mean, she's no longer a psychiatrist.
when you stare into the darkness does eventually stare back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not surprising that being a psychiatrist would have an effect on somebody, but you would still think she wouldn't necessarily make that kind of a joke.
Well, she's obviously not a rational character. I mean,
I
she's
don't
obviously had some kind of psychotic break.
It's something about that just rubs me the wrong way.
Sure.
And I'm just not.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's a villain. I think it should. I mean, she's not a good person. None of these people are. That's the whole point of the Suicide Squad.
The fact that that's where the writing sort of chose to go.
Sure.
It's just like.
I mean,
anyway, I've gotten off on a rant on a completely different movie that's happening. I apologize.
It's important in the cinematic universe. I mean, because Batman is going to have an appearance in it.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, the Joker is a character that's had a major influence on the
That's
Batman
true.
because we see presumably the Jason Todd Robin suit.
Yeah.
In his
yeah.
in the Bat menagerie of his victories and failures.
Yeah, his sort of trophy room.
Right, because he is sort of this You know, I mean, Batman is.
He does have a tendency to collect stuff.
Well, he's kind
Yeah.
of like what's the word I'm looking for? He broods on things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he
he does.
surrounds himself with things to brood on. I mean, he's
Yeah.
just like,
Maybe as an attempt to sort of keep himself grounded.
I mean,
reminded what
really,
he's
like
doing.
someone should do like a bronze statue a la Auguste Rodin of Batman as the thinker, but just like, right? I mean, because he just sits
No,
there and broods.
that's awesome.
I
I'm
mean,
okay
it's
with
like,
that.
yeah, it's sort of like this. He's almost sort of a masochist. I mean, he sort of like has tortured himself over,
Yeah.
his whole life over these things that he really had no power over and is not responsible for. But I
True.
mean, Batman is like, I'm always drawing these characters that are this sin eater archetype.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
get
think
that.
they are quite fascinating.
I get that, and Batman tries to shoulder everything himself. That's
Sure.
been shown. That's been shown in the past in the comics and in certain pieces of the film, because it's just like at the end of Batman Begins. He shoulders everything himself.
Yep.
When he tells when he tries to convince Katie Holmes Rachel Dawes, not Maggie Gyllenhaal's Rachel Dawes, who pretty much just upped and left him, and all that. Which that the way they handled the Rachel Dawes character, I think if Katie Holmes would have stayed, they would have handled her character differently.
Sure.
But that's a whole.
Well, they had to make room for Anne Hathaway's Selena Kyle. Oh,
Calm down back there, Micah.
be gentle with me.
Okay.
Ugh.
All right. So guys, we've ranted and raved on this a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe a little too much.
But we can't help it. This happens every time.
No,
Every time.
it's part of
They've
the game.
all seen the show.
Yeah.
They know what's up.
This happens. All right. You may not believe me. This happens when we're not even recording. Nate and I, before we had this session, we had what might have been like a 30-minute conversation about the state of gaming.
Yes.
And it ranged, this year could be the year where studios stopped meddling, and went to
It was-
Kojima
Hey,
and
Ben,
Konami
Ben,
and everything.
you're
Yeah.
doing it
You're
right
doing it.
now.
I know I am. I can't help it.
Nobody panic.
Everybody
Everybody
panic. Nate, in the video.
All right. Okay, we have to end it.
We gotta
Guys,
stop.
Guys,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you once again for tuning in. If there's another video you want us to watch, leave a comment down below. Also, check the description for all of our various other endeavors. Leave a like if you like the video. And signing off for the Renegade faction, this is Nate,
I'm Ben.
Micah.
and we'll see you later, Internet. Peace out.
Oh, merciful heavens! This just keeps happening.